Okay?
And right now...
And for the record, if you want to understand white supremacy in this country, look to the most popular news broadcast. Here it is. Breaking news, 10 people dead in the Buffalo supermarket attack police call hate crime. Meanwhile, this is what's going on Fox News. So recognize that as well, okay? How could this have happened? I'm going to post that, actually. Racial this. Built into the... actively to... Oh, it's... Discrimination and violence is built into the very foundation of this country, but if you're wondering who works actively to continue its normalization, look no further than the top news broadcaster in this country. Are conservative doing the same thing? What about isn't moving the goalposts and deflecting? Yeah, dude. Of course they're gonna do that. It's like they got egg on their face. That's it. That's why I'm seeing so much pushback from Republicans in my fucking replies on Twitter. They're absolutely going insane. Like they're doing everything they can to be like, well, what about the black guy that shot up the fucking subway? Yeah, what about him, dude? What about him? I mean, we covered that. We covered that extensively. I'm sorry, is there like a fucking Fox News equivalent that you can point to that's promoting like black nationalist rhetoric or some shit? Like until like and you can't say BET, you're ridiculous. But like until you point to like the historical, until you can find the historical contextually appropriate comparison within like black nationalist fucking movements that aren't just liberatory like Black Panthers, the Black Panther Party or whatnot, because that was adequate and understandable and reasonable. It was a reasonable defense against state violence, okay? Which no such example of that exists in white power movements until you find in contemporary society, like what, BET, are they promoting fucking, black nationalism in the same way, and not Pan-African nationalism, not liberatory black nationalism, but like black nationalism in the form of like, the kind of black nationalism that like this dude supposedly believed in and espoused, which is still closer to fucking reactionary ideology than the emancipatory black nationalism that we talk about when we think about black nationalism. Okay, until you find that kind of example, I think I'll be like, I'll be parsing through this information with the appropriate care necessary for it. Tariq Nasheed is unironically a black supremacist. Great example, dude. What the fuck does Tariq Nasheed have in comparison to Tucker Carlson? Are you fucking insane? Tucker Carlson is a household name. Tariq Nasheed is a fucking meme on the internet, dude. Dr. Umar is a meme on the internet, for the most part. It's some guy on fucking Twitter yelling, okay? And then on the other hand, you have Tucker Carlson, literally like a household name that is incredibly impactful. And once again, you have to remind yourself, as I've said, that the one-to-one comparison in this circumstance is idiotic because there is no historical systemic violence in the form of black nationalism that white people were subjected to. There is no systemic black nationalism. It's not a thing, okay? That has never happened in America. Black nationalism and just black liberation and black power movements revolve around emancipation, to end the subjugation, whether it be the abolition of slavery or whether it be civil rights. Okay? That's the difference. But when we talk about white nationalism, that's entirely different because that's a reinforcement of the state violence because the state has operated in that way. The state has operated in a white nationalist way over and over again. That's why our fucking immigration, even to this day, is white nativist, okay? It's significantly easier for you to fucking come from a white country into this one as an immigrant and to travel into this country than it is from a brown country, from a black country. It's out there. It's open. It's like fucking super easy for you to comprehend. But, what the fuck do I know? Boys, I'm a racist. If you ask, Mr. I love saying the N-word Killer Keemstar, that I'm a racist, so I don't fucking understand the intricacies of racism in this country or white supremacist violence in this country. A rasict. Okay. Here it is. What is the standard for a hate crime? These homies are just like working fucking overtime, dude.
To say that this was a hate crime.
Well, you have in this case, you'll have the elements of murder, the premeditation, the act of murder, that sort of the basic elements of murder. But the kicker and the enhancer in the federal system is the motivation. They have to prove the motivation is a hate towards race, religion, or
pretty obvious, I think. I mean, that's not. I don't know, boys. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I don't think it's gonna be that difficult to find said motivation. Maybe I'm crazy. Call me crazy, but I don't think it's gonna be all that difficult to find said motivation in this circumstance. I think he pretty much wrote it and lived it. I mean, he screamed it from the fucking mountaintops, if you will.
National origin, that sort of thing. So, which doesn't seem like it's going to be a big stretch here, given what I've heard so far.
Yeah. So, Chris, I want to get into the nitty gritty. You say our leaders need to do better. Those of us that have public platforms need to do better.
I got to pee. I'll be back.
I want to get into the politics of this, but I do want to talk about the inspirations.
Yeah, I hate, from a law enforcement perspective, I've had 40 years in this business. And I think my colleagues will say the same thing. Dial down the rhetoric. Every politician of every stripe seems to want to come in a situation like this and really put fuel on the fire. I've seen this governor come in 2 or 3 times now, and it's political, and it just fires things up. And that's where you have the nutcases out there like this guy who see this going on. You see somebody sort of stirring the pot, trying to demagogue the issue rather than just let the law enforcement professionals take care of it. And I get so tired of that. I think my colleagues do too. Let the politicians step back and have the law enforcement professionals take care of this.
Chris, it's so important. Anytime I see politicians reaching conclusions and saying what the charges are going to be before it's tried through the criminal justice system, I get concerned, because when you overpromise to the public, it can cause a wildfire to unleash. We got to let this go through the process, and we have to preach calm as well. And I'm thankful that some of the leaders have already begun to do that. Chris, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
I missed it. Was it horrible? Sorry, I had to pee.
Who see this going on? You see somebody sort of stirring the pot, trying to demagogue the issue rather than just let the law enforcement professionals take care.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. I can't believe people are making... Dude, what isn't... I mean, what won't these liberals turn into a game of political football? You know what I mean? I mean, white supremacist acts of terror. That's political now? I mean, you're crazy. Come on. Come on, dude. I mean, this is an apolitical subject. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? You're on Fox News. You're literally sandwiched between coverage of people being like, saying that immigrants are fucking dirty vermin. And the white supremacist power hour right after. And he's like, what? I mean, come on, dude. What is this? Let's dial the politics down. Can you stop making politics so political? I mean, not politics, racial violence and its normalization, such a political subject. That's so fucked up.
Care of it. And I get so tired of that. I think my colleagues do too. You know, let the politicians step back and have the law enforcement professionals take care of this.
Bro, this is, you know what this is? A lot of people felt powerless to do anything gun control related in the aftermath of Sandy Hook. And I think we've also reached a stage where people feel powerless to do anything about white supremacist violence, okay? Because it is so normalized. It is basically a normative position that the state is going to behave in this way. I mean, and I think that after the George Floyd protests happened, at the international level, and America's immediate reaction to it was, hold on now, these protests are getting out of hand, okay? Let's fucking dial it back a little bit. And the Democratic Party's immediate goal was to stop the momentum, the actual grassroots momentum that was building behind this movement in the streets, and bring their own commodified version of it called 8 Can't Wait, which was already like law enforcement measures that were in place in localities, but they wanted to codify it at the federal level. And then they failed to even pass that fucking law, okay? And that we completely packaged it in the form of, like, you know, TikTok, people fucking talking about, what was it? The Macklemore song, Same Love, right? Over TikTok BLM videos, right? We did that, okay? We did this.
D's. Till we're equal, damn right I support it. No freedom till we're equal, damn right I support it.
We did that, okay? Everybody got their fucking, everybody got their kicks in, okay? I'm not gonna fucking, you know, torture you with more of that, because we've done this before. We've looked through all this before, okay? And then it was done. It was done. No, like, functionally, no tangible, long-lasting, systemic change that occurred when people were burning fucking cop cars and police precincts in this country, okay? And I think now at this stage, it's over. Once that happened, I think people were like, all right, fuck this. Nothing is happening. Okay? Nothing is happening. Police got more funding. Joe Biden came out earlier this week saying, hey, you know what, Jack? Use the COVID funds on cops, which they were already. Use the additional COVID funds on funding the police further, actually. That's where we're at in this fucking country, man. It's very hard not to be a doomer. I mean, I see a lot of momentum in the labor side, and that makes me happy. You got the Amazon Labor Union. You got Starbucks organizing all across the country, okay? And that kind of stuff makes me very excited for the future of the labor movement in this country. But it's like, but other than that, it is very, very difficult to look to what's happening here and not realize that these guys are just basically doing like victory laps on America's dead carcass, okay? American progressive movement's dead carcass here. That's it. It's the same thing that you see with the Roe v. Wade battle, and it's the same fucking thing that you're seeing right now with racial violence in this country. It is significantly more complicated than simply stating, oh man, this is about, you know, social media stopping hate speech from happening, or social media being inadequate from stopping hate speech from happening. You have to remember, like, dude, there is an irreparable shift in society if people hearing like psychotic white supremacist ramblings go, I like that, I agree with that, fuck it, I'm gonna do that. Okay? We have far bigger problems to tackle than hate speech on social media platforms, which you should combat, of course, okay? Because it's horrible, it's awful. But like, it's an admission of defeat. It is an admission of defeat when you turn around and you say, wow, dude, I mean, shit, man, this fascism stuff is so easy to just fucking break the brains of our youth that they see it on a fucking forum where these like turbo virgins gather and fantasize about like a racially pure America as though that's going to make them fuckable. It's not. And they're like, yeah, this is me. This is my future. I love this shit. That's crazy that people can be radicalized like that. Well, they can because it's being reinforced through every facet of society. From our structures, even our infrastructure, all the way to our most popular broadcasters. And trying to tackle it from the point of view of culture is just feckless. Okay? Noting that the AP copy of an 18-year-old Michael Brown was an 18-year-old black man, while 18-year-old Peyton Gendron is a white teenager. Of course, dude. Of course. Yes. Remember, Michael Brown was no angel, okay? These are our liberal institutions, too. And all we do, I mean, this is another form of like, I'm going to be honest, this is yet another fucking form. This is another form of powerlessness. Pointing out the hypocrisy of this makes us feel good for a brief moment. But like if AP changed its fucking, if the Associated Press changed its style Bible, that wouldn't change anything necessarily. I mean, it's an indication of manufactured consent. So for that purpose, it's good. It's good to show that this is yet another instance where, the systems work, even liberal systems, work to serve white supremacist agitated propaganda. It's little things like this that absolutely serve that same purpose inadvertently. That's how it becomes so commonplace. It is manufactured consent in that sense. But anything beyond the manufactured consent's purpose of this is just silly. To just like, even if AP just fucking changed that in their style Bible, you're not solving racism that way. What's the problem with white teenager? These are both teenagers, but this teenager that was a victim of police violence is considered to be a black man, whereas this teenager who did white supremacist terror on a black neighborhood is considered a white teenager. If you can't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. And this goes back to, of course, the same old attitude that like there's empirical evidence for this as well. Black people are routinely thought as much older than they actually are. The way that police treat black kids is incredibly brutal because they will automatically operate under the assumption that they are, black, like black adults. So just remember that. Yeah. Trayvon Martin is another example. 12-year-old Tamir Rice is another example.
Chris, it's so important. Anytime I see politicians reaching conclusions and saying what the charges are going to be before it's tried through the criminal justice system, I get concerned because when you overpromise to the public, it can cause a wildfire to unleash. We got to let this go through the process, and we have to preach calm as well. And I'm thankful that some of the leaders have already begun to do that. Chris, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.